I am here with Chef Jeff. I started actually just swapping out coconut sugar for regular sugar in my house, and like nobody knew. Actually learned recently that hand strength is a good indicator of longevity.
Really?
Yeah.
If I want the recipe to be gluten-free,
right.
tamari is a really nice way to work around.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm getting more.
It is so good. Well done.
Fist bump.
Oh, fist bump.
my fist off fingers.
Okay, YouTube, I am here with Chef Jeff. Who was one of the amazing chefs that contributed to Eat Like a Girl. And I always refer to you as my omnivore chef. I'm sure there's other ways.
I've been called worse. It's okay.
Excellent. So, but I mean, literally one of the reasons that I wanted you to contribute to this is because you have this extensive background in cooking all things, but especially meat. And I've been, we've done a lot on plant-based, and there's a whole plant-based section here. I personally eat meat. And what's really interesting about the recipe we're about to show is that, and I don't know another way to say this, I think sometimes poultry is bland.
It can be. It can be boring if it doesn't, if it doesn't have complementary flavors, or it's put in a marinade that doesn't necessarily get absorbed well.
Right.
But it also can be a really good canvas for some really cool stuff.
That's what I experienced with this. So we are making the lemongrass chicken. And the first time we made it, my husband made it. And when he put it on my plate to taste it, I was like, oh my God, this is so good.
Cool.
So the flavor profile worked. So why don't we start off with just how we go through this step by step.
Okay. So it comes from the kind of the Vietnamese diaspora. There's a few different ways to do lemongrass chicken. So that's kind of where the inspiration came from. Okay. Pretty standard, typical flavors of that region. So you have your limes, your lemongrass, onion, ginger, garlic. One of my favorites, fish sauce. Really great flavor and the undertones. We talk a lot these days about umami, and that's what this brings to the party.
Can you talk about this for a second?
Absolutely. So
this is like all everywhere about this umami taste.
Yeah, right. Umami. So historically it's been taught on our tongues. We have sweet, sour, salty. These different zones, which it's actually there's no zones. It's everything tastes everything on your tongue. But then we realized that there's this other flavor component that we pick up on, and it was been called umami because of the research that was done in Japan. And umami, it basically means deliciousness or meatiness. Right. And it comes from glutamine. Yep. Yeah. And so it's found naturally in things like soy sauce. In Asian cooking, you have soy sauce, fish sauce, tamari is the same kind of thing. Parmesan cheese more in the West. Let's see, sardines and oily fish and that sort of thing. Hence, that's where fish sauce comes from. So we have every culture has kind of ways to put umami into food, and that's one of the underlying things that you can do to really kind of create something that literally has the deliciousness component. Right. And we think of these things and we salivate, like red meat and that sort of thing. Yeah.
So with the umami, my son and I actually went down a whole path of the different flavors on the tongue. And so umami is supposed to cover the tongue, more of the tongue. But then I took it a step further and was like, well, if it's stimulating the tongue, what neurotransmitters is it stimulating in the brain? And it's all the happy ones. And so dopamine, serotonin. So there's an emotional experience with umami.
It's almost a craving sort of a thing. Yeah. It's this was discovered a long time ago, and that's why, for example, our favorite snack foods might have these sorts of things in them that will trigger those and make us, crave them more and more. That's where it comes from.
It's really fascinating. Yep. So, okay, I just want to, because it keeps coming up in everything that we've been doing is umami, and I'm like, what? This is like the hero. It
happens to be built into this recipe quite a bit as well.
Amazing.
So we have our tamari, our soy sauce, which that's also a component. Now, because fish sauce, tamari. These things are salty. Typically, we need something kind of sweet to kind of counterbalance that. But we don't want to go off the deep end, which a lot of traditional Southeast Asian cooking does have a good amount of sugar in it.
Yeah.
So how do we do that while trying to maintain somewhat of a keto diet? And that's where coconut sugar comes into play. And coconut sugar, you can certainly speak to it. It does a wonderful thing.
So you know what's interesting about coconut sugar? When I first started looking at the glycemic profile of sugars, it was like down at 0 would be meaning it had 0 impact on your blood sugar with stevia. And then all the way up in the hundreds was like sugar, cane sugar. But in that whole range, you look at like honey. Honey is actually in the middle. It's like 50. But coconut sugar is like 30. So I started actually just swapping out coconut sugar for regular sugar in my house. And like nobody knew.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool sugar.
Yeah, it's really cool. It has a similar sweetness quality that regular sugar does.
Yeah.
And so your brain doesn't, when you're eating something that would normally have sugar and you swap, your brain doesn't go, this doesn't taste like sugar.
Right.
This tastes like whatever, stevia or whatever.
Right.
Which I love. So
which is interesting. I'm thinking about this now. You probably with stevia don't get the same dopamine response because your brain doesn't register it as the same taste.
That's what it's exactly when I have desserts, and especially when we tested recipes for this book, doing the cheesecake, and we tried different sugars. The coconut sugar and those ones were the ones that when I gave them to friends, and they said that they didn't notice something was missing, whereas with other things like stevia, you notice it and you're like, I'm being tricked here.
Yeah. We didn't trick you in this book.
Exactly. So anyway, the basic idea is we're going to create this marinade, drop our chicken in it, marinate it, take it out, and we're going to grill it. And while it's grilling, we're going to make this really delicious dipping sauce called nuoc cham, which is a traditional Vietnamese kind of dipping sauce for a lot of different things. It's really delicious.
To dip the chicken in.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. So you've got sauces 2 ways then. You've got, it's marinating, and then there's a dipping sauce, which is why it was so good. Because
we want not only to have the marinade, which has these, a lot of delicious flavors and kind of earthy and those sorts of notes, but then the dipping sauce will finish it, and there's lime juice in the dipping sauce and that sort of thing. And so that's going to kind of help us in terms of acid and kind of finishing.
Amazing. I can't wait.
Yeah, let's do it. Shall we?
Yes.
Okay. So first thing we're going to do, we have our food processor. I wrote these recipes to make it kind of in the realm of simple.
Yes.
Meaning that, using similar ingredients and also, relatively similar quantities. So it's 2 tablespoons, 1/4 cup, 1/4 cup. You'll see that here.
Right.
So lemongrass.
I noticed that in several of your recipes. You kept the measurements very similar.
It's intentional because that's how I like to cook, and it's also how it makes things easier and less to clean up because I'm lazy. So first ingredient is lemongrass, which all I'm doing is just bashing it to get the oils out, and you can certainly smell it.
Oh yeah.
Now this one has a little bit. This is a good example. They have the green top here, right where it's green, and there's white. We only want the white. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to bust this up and just cut into little guys right here. And then there we go. I'm going to do the same thing here. So again, just a quick couple knocks.
Okay.
And right where it gets kind of tough, we're going to put that aside.
Okay.
And I'm only just cutting this. The food processor is going to do the work. Okay. But I'm just cutting it just so it'll go in. So easy peasy.
Are you trying to release the flavors in doing that?
Well, the food processor is going to bash it up pretty good for us. Yeah. So all I'm doing is just making it so the food processor does less work.
Okay, got it.
You can certainly do this by hand or in a mortar and pestle. It's going to take you some time. That's why we like modern technology.
Yeah, this is true.
We have our half an onion, so we're just going to give this a quick little slice. And again, I'm not being, real Mr. Fancy Pants about what I'm doing as far as like precision knife work. This is strictly just cutting it to enough of a size that the food processor can do its job. So,
is there a way you're supposed to hold the knife when you cut it? Just side. Good
question. So, this is how I was taught to hold knife. Some people will have different ways of doing a knife. My favorite way: 3 fingers, then like you're shooting a gun, finger, thumb. This gives me full control over my knife. My knife is very, very sharp.
Yeah. I just saw him sharpen it.
Yeah, that's true. So hence, this is kind of the most control you're going to get. Okay. So and you can even hear it. Just my knife slides right through. But so we have our onion. That's going to go in. Now a sharp knife is a lot more safe than a dull knife.
You taught me that when we first started
Yeah,
talking.
yeah, that's right.
Because I've cut myself plenty of times on dull knives.
So yeah, it's totally true that a dull knife is probably the most dangerous thing in the kitchen.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So we have our garlic. These are cloves that we already peeled, and you know, if you want to be Mr. Fancy Pants, you can pull the little nubbies off.
I wondered about that. Yeah.
A lot of the fancy chefs I've worked for, they're a big no stems. If we're at home, you know, look over there. Okay.
Nobody will notice.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how when I'm cooking at home, that's how I am.
Yeah.
So we have our ginger again. Now this is going to surprise some folks possibly, but because it's for a marinade, a lot of times you'll see someone take a spoon or a back of a knife and they'll peel that off like that.
Right.
It's not going to hurt anything just to put it in as is because again, I'm not looking to do a lot of cleanup, and all I do is I just give them a couple little slices.
And you know, the way I look at all plants like that is that, well, even animals, we should use all the parts.
This is true.
There's nutrients in the skin.
Absolutely.
So why not throw it all in? That makes sense.
Go on in. So those guys are all in there. Next, what we're going to do is do our limes. We need the juice of 5 limes. Now, what's interesting about we do this in the book quite a bit. Anytime that you blend garlic specifically, there's a couple different components in garlic that they're naturally separated. Okay. So I forget the chemical names, but when you break that garlic, when you cut into it and those chemical compounds combine, that's what brings the heat and a lot of the less pleasant parts of garlic.
Got it.
So but when you blend garlic in the presence of acid like lime juice or lemon juice, it doesn't allow that chemical reaction to take place. So you're getting all the flavor of garlic with none of the sort of the heat or the heartburn component. Okay. So it's one of the nice tricks about when you're going to blend a dressing. All the dressings in the recipe, in the book, that's what we do is we blend anything with garlic with an acid to kind of give you the best qualities.
To make it a smoother experience. Yeah, now, interesting.
If you want to be fancy, we can use one of these, handy dandy guys.
I like that.
You want to do the fancy moves?
I like being fancy.
I'm a squeeze it by the hand kind of guy, but that's I'm also
primal.
Exactly. It also cleans your hands off of all the garlic. Here, go ahead.
Woo!
Oh,
there you go.
That was awesome. I'm going to stand out of range.
My hands are a little strong, I guess.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah, I didn't mean to get you all
citrusy. That was exciting.
I just got excited to put me in the game.
Yeah, right? Yeah, put me in the game, coach. My sous chef's killing it over here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think you get more juice out if you do it this way, right?
Definitely, if you give it that kind of hand strength.
Yes. I keep talking about this, that I actually learned recently that hand strength is a good indicator of longevity.
Really?
Yeah, and actually, I brought a woman on my podcast, and she talked about how, as you age, how important it is to cook, because there's so many different there's so many different variations. I'm
going to live forever then. Let me tell you, I was a pairs figure skater lifting girls over my head. That's right. And then when we were at we went to the U.S. Olympic Training Center, and I was tested for grip strength, and I had like one of the highest grip strength I've ever seen. Wow. And then I went and cooked. So I'm living forever.
Yeah, you should totally be living forever. Somebody should measure your grip strength.
Right.
Maybe you could be in the Guinness Book or something. Best grip strength.
Oh, I'm sure there's guys out there better than me at this point.
Okay.
All right, sweet. We got lime.
We got lots of
limes are done.
Okay, I'll switch with you.
Swappy. Okay.
My big moment.
you put me in, coach. You did it. So from here, like the way I wrote it was very simple. 2 tablespoons fish sauce, 2 tablespoons tamari, 1/4 cup of this guy. I think I have that right. And if not, we'll taste it and then we'll fix it. Great. So, pretty easy peasy. 1.
It's really, and while he's doing that, I'm thinking how creative that was to do this in the recipes where all the numbers are the same, because I often will do a recipe and I'm like, oh wait, it was a 1/2 teaspoon. Right. Now it's 1/4 teaspoon, and you're like going. So I like to bake.
And at the end of the day, the way I write recipes, and especially for restaurants, it's that extra 1/4 tablespoon of pepper really gonna come on, just make it easy on the guy.
Yeah, and then you use tamari because you and I talked about all the recipes in the book being gluten free.
Yes.
But I'm curious if you would normally use tamari.
Depending on the restaurant, depending what I'm doing, depending on if I want the recipe to be gluten-free. Right. Tamari is a really nice way to work around the issue of gluten, but having soy still in the recipe.
Exactly.
And so that's historically what I've done. If there's ever any concern of that, I reach for tamari. It's just the smartest move.
So much easier.
So 1/4 cup of our coconut sugar.
Have you, so Chef Jeff owned a restaurant, or started and owned a restaurant in Vegas called the Valencia Gold.
Yeah.
As a restaurant owner, when you look at a menu, do you go, okay, I have to have options for food allergies?
You do. Either you need to have the options for the food allergies, or you need to have a plan to say, all right, this person, if someone comes in and they're gluten intolerant, dairy intolerant, what am I going to do?
Right.
And what I prefer, I can think on my feet as much as the next guy.
Right.
But as a restaurant owner, as a chef, it's better to kind of have a plan in place.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what we do.
I've been in a few high-end restaurants before where they didn't have a plan for gluten-free, and I'm like surprised.
Yeah, and sometimes that's because if they're making bread in the facility and there's flour in the air on the surfaces,
they're just
we can't, if we can't. I'm of the opinion, and I believe in this fully. If I can't absolutely guarantee that it's safe for that person, I don't want to take that chance.
You don't want it in your
and I'd rather just make you something else you're going to enjoy.
Right.
Tell me what you want. I'll go cook it for you.
Yeah.
You know.
That makes sense.
So we did a 1/4 cup of coconut sugar, and I'm going to do a 1/4 cup in the same guy, so that easy. You know, we're not really dirtying too many things.
I'm curious. That's avocado oil.
This is avocado oil.
Is that what we put in the recipe?
Yep.
So why did you choose avocado over olive?
Mainly because you don't typically see olive oil in Asian cooking.
Oh.
And as Uncle Roger likes to say on his videos, and whenever somebody does stir fry with olive oil, he's like, makes him put his knee down and he goes, "What are you doing?" There's no olive oil in Chinese or Asian cookery.
Oh, keep it consistent.
And I agree with that. I mean, look, traditionally, I think, canola or even peanut oil will be used, but, we don't really like those because they have qualities about them that you could speak to probably better than me.
Yeah, they're inflammatory.
Exactly. And so my thought was, well, what oil can I use? Because I need to have the fat, I need the oil.
Right.
And how can I more or less stay true? I mean, are there avocados in Asia? Probably not, but it's the closest thing, and it's a neutral oil.
Right.
And so that's kind of the best way to go. It's not a seed oil like some of the ones that we're worried about.
Right, yeah. I have to say, I really love your respect for the traditional taste in which you can bounce between the Spanish taste and the Asian taste, and then you see the through line. It's really pretty cool.
I believe in the old saying, if it grows together, it goes together, and can you use olive oil in Asian cookery, or is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. I don't claim to know everything about everything, but I try to hew towards being respectful of the traditions and culture and the diaspora of a cuisine.
Yeah.
A, because it's the right thing to do, and B, it's just going to taste better.
Right. Yeah. So smart.
So I think other than salt and pepper, everybody's in the pot. I'm going to do just a little bit of black pepper. And I like one of my little cheats. This is more or less a tablespoon.
What?
So, yeah.
That is so cool.
So we just do that, and
okay, you know how many times I've been searching for my little tablespoon, and I never thought of the lid.
Use the lid.
The lid is like a tablespoon.
And this is obviously not a tablespoon. This is more, but this also has a little shaker on it. So I'm going to just close this up. Oh, I'm going to try.
That's probably
if I was really in my kitchen, I would just use my fingers, but I'm trying to pretend like I'm a home chef right now. And so we'll use the little pour guy instead. Okay. There we go. And so, give or take that, a little clumpy. That's about a tablespoon. There you go. Okay. Bob's your uncle. So now we're going to blend this guy up. And hopefully I know how to turn this thing right. There we go. And
I think you gotta turn
manual. Let's do medium. All right.
Is there do you want it chunky, or do you want to mix it up?
That's just the thing. It can be relatively chunky because we're going to wind up, we're going to put the chicken into the marinade.
Okay.
Let it do its thing, and then we're going to just discard the marinade that we don't use because it's at this point, it's not usable.
Right.
And then there'll be little chunky guys on there, and that's fine. When we grill it, those things will just kind of fall off naturally or whatnot. So we're totally fine. Let's see how we did. So we'll put this. Here we go. And you can see. We're not by any means well blitzed as far as overly overly blended. But we just want to taste it and say, okay, does it have salt, acid, sweet?
Oh my gosh.
Tastes pretty good to me.
It tastes amazing.
And the sizing on the sizing on everything looks really pretty nice.
Okay.
I'm pretty happy with that.
Okay.
Nailed it.
Good. Okay, so you just poured a little bit of the marinade on here. You didn't pour all of it.
Well, so what we did was we let it go. We marinated it for 24 hours. Well,
the marinade by itself.
Correct.
Okay.
We let that go.
Okay.
And then when we took it out, I had a little bit more of what we just made. And so I just gave a little splash over the top, just to kind of like, it was starting to kind of get a little dry. So here we go. This is our marinade for 24 hours. Chicken, ginger, and Vietnamese lemongrass chicken. So from here, we're just going to go on out to the grill, cook her off. And then we're going to make a nice little sauce. It's like fish sauce, lime juice, delicious. It'll splash on top of it right before we eat it.
Okay, let me ask you one question about marinade. This is classic me, is that I read a menu or a recipe and I'm like, oh, I maybe should have made the marinade the day before. What if you, and then I'm like, but I want the recipe.
But I want it now, yeah.
Yeah.
A couple hours, you're fine.
Okay, great.
Make the marinade in the morning or the afternoon or even an hour or two before, drop it on, leave it in the fridge. You'll be fine.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So that's helpful. Relieve me of guilt.
Not everyone can plan 24 hours in advance. That's for sure.
That's what I just learned about. Okay, so now we're gonna go out and cook it, and we're gonna cook it on the grill. We're cooking actually. So
charcoal grill.
Yeah, before we go out there, we use the egg, the big green egg. What do you think of that?
It's a fantastic grill.
The taste is so different.
Right, and you really get that kind of charcoal grilled flavor and quality off of it. Yeah, it's a good grill.
Amazing. Okay, let's go out to the grill. Okay, so now we've got it in. We've taken it off the egg, and it looks really good already. So what's the next step?
So now we're gonna make a little kind of dipping sauce.
Okay.
And it's really very, very, very simple. It's a little bit of water, garlic, lime juice, coconut sugar, fish sauce, a little chili flake if you like a little bit of spice. That's it. It's it's just a little acidic, salty, delicious kind of little sauce that we're gonna go right on top. So.
And how much water did you put in there?
This is just a quarter cup. It's a splash.
Okay.
But all we do with the garlic, I mean, this isn't like, super duper like refined, like it has to be exactly 1/16 of an inch cubed. Right. This is just a little smash and a little chop. You're gonna get real fancy. You can do
I was just gonna say, I feel like it's like Olympic chopping here.
Yeah.
Definitely don't chop like that.
There we go. So just simple little garlic. There we go. And then we're gonna go with our lime. So it's usually 2 limes. These guys are kind of little, so we decided we'll do 3.
What's the difference as far as taste of lime and lemon?
Hand strength. Well, the lime and lemon, very different. I don't know the chemical component difference. They're both citric acid.
Yeah.
But definitely lime has that, it tastes like a lime. It's a limey flavor. And lemon has sort of more of that kind of, lemony flavor.
Very well put.
Yeah, it is a distinct difference, but more it's a question of what's really interesting is in the rest of the world, when they talk about limon, they're actually talking about limes.
Right.
In Brazil and in a lot of parts of the world, the Brazilian lemonade, that sort of thing, they're actually made with limes.
Right.
So there we go. Next up, so we have lime juice, garlic. We're going to do 2 tablespoons of our coconut sugar, our favorite friend.
Yes.
And I like to do the dry ones first because I'm going to reuse this guy.
Okay.
We're going to go 2 tablespoons of fish sauce.
Super easy.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that you had said before about, can I just whip this together if I just got home after a day and I want to make something, I want to be quick about it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And that's what we have found with this recipe is it's so easy.
And the last thing, if you want just a little bit of heat, again, I like to use the lid to kind of as my measuring device. This is like a Thai bird chili or something that's got a little more heat.
Okay.
I'm kind of a wimp, so we're going with chili flake.
Okay.
And then
we're going to mix it around.
Mixy and taste. And you see, you get this kind of beautiful little color to it.
How would you you plate something like this? Would you put individual dipping sauce?
I'm going to just drizzle it right over the top. Here you go.
Okay. And would you put what would you put, like some forbidden rice or something with it?
Absolutely. I would, for me, it would be your veggies, depending on, your carbs, what you're doing. I like forbidden rice. I like brown rice. I like, there's a few different ways to do it.
Okay. So am I going to eat this with my fingers?
We're going to just do right over the top here.
We're going primal style.
Primal, I like it. Well, that way we don't have to wash any silverware.
Yeah, that's right. We're just our hands.
There we go. Delicious.
Okay. Looks good.
Let's do those princess bites.
I was going to say, I feel like I should cheers with you. Here's a princess.
Well, cheers a chicken. There you go. Cheers. Mm.
Oh,
I'm getting more.
It is so good. It's like barbecue sauce. Like it's got that same kind of pleasure of barbecue sauce without all the chemicals in barbecue sauce and sweetness. Amazing. Well done.
Fist bump.
Oh,
my fist sauce fingers.
So there you go. This is the lemongrass chicken. That isn't Eat Like a Girl. That was developed by Chef Jeff, and it's amazing. It's really, it is delicious. Truly incredible. So I hope you all enjoy. Okay, are you fasting and you're still not losing weight? Check out this video because you might be missing a key part of your fasting experience that's gonna unlock weight loss. So if you think about it, all the humans that emerged out of that time have the gene that allows us to go without food, and that gene they believe is in all of us today.